Jeff is gonna talk about the Misfits right now. He's gonna talk about Walk Among Us Obsessed anyhow. Just play the actual theme song. It's been a long day, you guys. It's been a long day. And I'm still here. I'm still here for the contest. Not for the contest, for the episode. My brains are mush. My brains are mush and jelly mashed together into a fine paste. Let's just do the theme. The theme intro, the proper one. The one, this is for Rue Morgue whenever he gets around to watching this, if he so should. Hold on.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jeff.
I'm so bad tonight.
Jeff is gonna talk about the Misfits right now. He's a nerd about this stuff, obsessed anyhow. Jeff never shuts his face, always needs to talk. Might be some way if he went out for a walk. Do you think Danzig cares? He doesn't care. He's out in Ranch backstage.
Doodaloo. Welcome to the Streaming Evilive show. My name is Jeff. How you doing tonight? I wasn't going to do this show. The show was not really possible to go down, but I dropped everything I was doing because when I promise a show, I tried my best to deliver. And man, this is going to be a good one. I think it's going to be a good one. Super quick update. Patreons, Frumess YouTube Casualty or Higher. I just uploaded 3 brand new Patreon exclusive episodes. Go check those out. Well, you can't check them out. They're time released, but they're coming. More, even more is coming. Even more. It never stops. It never, ever stops. Keep your eyes peeled. Same thing with YouTube members. Keep your eyes peeled for YouTube member exclusive videos. Coming. More is coming. Speaking of which, I got to tell you, I'm thinking about changing a couple things up. We're gonna see. I have this this idea. It's not really an idea. It's actually a very derivative ripoff that's been done a million times. But I guess I just want to do my own version. So what about that? Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. I'm flying out to Colorado tomorrow. I'm going to be there for 2 weeks. Some quality family time. It's been a while since we've been able to do that. I'm going to visit my brother. Remember where I was that time when we did Scream with Me? That's where I'm going to be. I'm going to be at the at that house where my brother lives. And it's going to be very nice. We're going to eat some matzah because it's Passover. That's why we're going out there. And going to be up in the mountains. It's going to feel good. But I'm bringing my laptop. I'm going to be broadcasting from out there because my work never stops. But so we'll be in like a weird sort of satellite location for that. What else can I say to you? Super quick. I talked about this yesterday in the Night of the Frumess episode. I'm going to just repeat it here again. In case you didn't know, the Mahoning Drive-In, which is where Joe Bob Briggs does The Last Drive-In on Shudder, is hosting for the all 4 Mad Max movies. I'm going to be not only in attendance, but I'm going to be conducting the Q&As with Wes himself, Vernon Wells from The Road Warrior. He's going to be there in attendance. So check that out. Go find the link for the tickets and pick some up, spreading awareness. As you guys know, Tank, Jonathan Grimm, who was on the show, he is sort of in charge of that. And that is how I have gotten involved as well. Buzz is going to be at the show as well. Trip's in the house. How you doing, Trip? You're going to be at the Chi-Town gig. That's awesome. Mom wishes me a safe trip. Not my actual mom. Mom Longoria is the name of that YouTube handle. Yeah, it's going to be fun. And Jeremy gives us a thumbs up. Appreciate that, Jeremy. Appreciate that a lot. Next order of business. Let's get this out of the way real quick so we could just jump into the conversation. We are doing a contest here at the channel. We're sponsored. We're powered by riotstickers.com. Look at this beautiful new button from riotstickers.com. Riot Stickers, they are the bomb. They also printed up that banner behind me, and they do stickers. Look at this. Look at all these stickers. Do you need stickers? This is where you go. Check it out. Matter of fact, we have a special promotion in the comments down below. Click on the link. It's still up. Get it while the getting is good. With the promo code of Frumess, you can get 50% off a special order. 50 stickers for $29.50. That's 50% off. Okay. 3 inches by 3 inches. Real estate, beautiful vinyl stickers. Look how mine came out. I'm so pleased with those. So pleased. I'm going to be sticking them all up all over Breckenridge, Colorado. That's for sure. And you'd be like, Frumess, what the hell is that? Oh, it's going to be everywhere. But yeah. And then the contest is you go to riotstickers.com/win. That's it. Just the word WIN. It's right here in the little ticker tape. You go there, you click on it, and it's free entry, free to enter. Okay. You know what that means? It means you enter. It doesn't cost you a dime, but what do you get? 20 custom t-shirts. We're going to be raffling 20 of them with whatever design you want. Riot Stickers is going to print that up for you. And all you got to do is just enter your name and your email. So go to riotstickers.com/win. Let's play the nifty 60-second video to go with it. We got it right here from our sponsor, Sharpie Riot.
Hi, I'm a guy from riotstickers.com, the merch company known for being the bomb. Do you hate going to work?
But like getting paid?
Do you hate snow?
But want to make sweet, sweet love to a snowman?
That was unexpected. All right, what about this? Do you hate paying for stuff, but like having custom t-shirts? You are in luck. We can't help with the snowman thing. That's probably going to take a therapist, but riotstickers.com is giving you a chance to win a free order of custom shirts. And entering is easier than like
making sweet, sweet
get her out of here. All you have to do is simply go to riotstickers.com/win and enter your name and email address. Riot Stickers will have a random drawing to pick a winner. So head to riotstickers.com/win for your chance to win free custom shirts. And be sure to check out other custom merch while you're there because it is the bomb.
Riotstickers.com, Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. Riotstickers.com, Riot Stickers, we are the bomb.
Ah! Hey guys, what's up? It's me, the Moonface. Yeah, so look at these buttons. Came out beautifully. Riotstickers.com. If you need stickers, that's where you go. Make sure you sign up for our contest, guys. We want a lot of people to participate. Look at these. Look at these shirts. Look, I'm wearing one right now. Look at this. Look at this. Frumess. Yeah, this is Frumess. Isn't that cool? Really like this design. Very, very neat. Riotstickers.com. Okay, enough with the advertisements and the preamble and yada yada yada. Let's launch into the meat of the show for the evening, shall we? By the way, all those links are down below in the description. Okay, what are we talking about? Why Walk Among Us at 40? I mean, listen, I'm not a big anniversary guy. I don't celebrate anniversaries of anything really. I don't. Not even birthdays. If you notice, I very seldomly, only when it's convenient, like if I see someone else has done the post and I can just share the post. I'm just not a guy who I don't know. I just think anniversaries are kind of silly. I'm amazed when I see Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr best friends or friends and bandmates and soulmates for 62 years holding hands at, in their 80s. Like that blows me away. Those are milestones that I think are awesome. But celebrating 10, 20, 30, 40 years of an album, I don't know. That doesn't really wax my whistle. However, Tim Sommer, and his name has come up here before, he has written about Walk Among Us turning 40. The Misfits are going to be playing Walk Among Us in its entirety at Riot Fest Chicago in September this year, the place where it all started. And I joked when I heard the news. I said, "So what are they going to do? Are they going to play Walk Among Us 3 times?" Because it's such a short album. I have to play it 3 times just to, for the contracted hour or whatever it is of material. But they're playing it. They're playing it. Walk Among Us is, when people think of the Misfits, the Walk Among Us is like the seminal record, right? We're not going to deep dive on the history. We've kind of explored it in various ways. I suppose we do eventually need to kind of look at it a little bit. It's a weird record in that it's not owned by whoever now owns the Caroline catalog. It remained because the Misfits signed a deal with Slash subsidiary Ruby, or no, maybe they signed it with Slash and then Ruby. Ruby was the imprint that put it out. They still own that record, and it's the best-selling record in their entire catalog. Think about the Slash catalog. Think about the Ruby catalog. Walk Among Us, over time, over 40 years, has sold for them better than anything else that they have in that catalog. Originally, Walk Among Us was going to be put out on Plan 9, Glenn's label. There's the Plan 9 version, which has a different track list. It's a different track listing. There are different versions of the songs. They are really interesting. They contain different sessions. Like there's the Newfoundland session, whatever. There's all these different session differences. And it's interesting. It has the song American Nightmare on it. And I believe I want to make sure I'm properly attributing this to our friend down under in New Zealand, Neon Knees, someone who visits the show often. I believe he was the one who said what makes Walk Among Us, or what would perfect Walk Among Us, is the omission of the live version of Mommy and the inclusion of American Nightmare. And I have to agree. I feel really weird about like live tracks mixed in with like a studio album. It's a weird thing. It sort of takes me out of the album, if you could imagine. It takes me out of the zone of taking in what it is that I'm taking in. So it's like to substitute one for the other. I think that would be a good trade-off, truly. And Walk Among Us, actually, its origins begin even further back with Bobby Steele, and there was a different album, 12 Hits from Hell, and that got changed around. John of Doom says that the Nike with the keys is his favorite. I am a personal fan of Devil's Whorehouse, which has that weird slap that Googie does or somebody. And Glenn's vocals they're very echoey. They double up. And it's like, she works at the Devil's Whorehouse. And there's another track. She look on now like that. It's like they're doing this like double thing. Really weird. But I like it. And then what happened was they signed a deal. They went out on that tour. They went out to visit with Slash. As a matter of fact, I think their first West Coast trip was sort of based around them potentially getting signed. I don't remember I might be making that up. I don't remember. I think so. And then they did some shows with Chris D from the Flesh Eaters. They did shows with the Flesh Eaters, and it was Chris D who remixed Walk Among Us. He didn't like the mixes that Glenn had given him. So Glenn flew out to California at a later date, and he crashed on the couch while for like 12 hours or something, they just did this marathon remix of Walk Among Us, and that's what we have. And then that record, Walk Among Us, has been freaking, oh my God, how many versions of Walk Among Us are there? It's been pressed so many friggin' times over the years. Various different smaller labels licensing out the masters, I guess, and then doing their own pressings too. The one that I think of, the one that I use for this thumbnail is the earache variants, which I did not get a chance to pick up, but I don't buy Misfits vinyl like that. I do have a copy of Walk Among Us. You know what? This is going to sound a little embarrassing. I got it at Hot Topic. I was in Hot Topic. Was walking around. I saw that they had Walk Among Us. I saw it was on pink vinyl. I saw that it was an official pressing, and I saw that there were only 1,000 pressed. And I said, "Oh, that's cool, man. That's cool. I'm going to pick that up." And I did, and I'm very glad to own it. And I don't need more copies of Walk Among Us. Although I will say, what really tickled my pickle is when I saw these things. Hold on one second. Let's take a look real quick at this. These are the earache variants that came out 2 years ago. Look at those. Look at those gorgeous beauties. And this is, for whatever reason, Glenn or whoever, they're not pressing up more stuff themselves. Like, why hasn't all of Sam Hain been properly reissued like this? Why don't you reissue the singles? I mean, printing I think that it can't be debated that printing Misfits vinyl is like printing money, essentially. Jerry only learned that very valuable business lesson. I do not hold it against him either. That's not a dig at Jerry for making a buck. That's like Jerry recognizing, what am I putting out albums for? It's better to put out singles, and just everybody likes collecting. Like, Jerry listened to what the market wanted and gave them plenty of it. I mean, Danzig has to an extent too. He gave us 1,000 versions of Danzig Sings Elvis, and my dumb ass has the black vinyl version of all the versions I could have gotten. And also, like, Danzig 5. What? Why Danzig 5 on silver and pink? Like, I mean, I'm glad it's on vinyl, but I don't know. I ended up I did not pull the trigger on that one. I don't know. I should have. I just didn't, like I said, I'm very particular. But then I see, like, X put out their self-titled. Oh no, they put out Los Angeles and Wild Gift, and now they're doing what's the third one called? Beyond the, oh God, what's it called? Bathroom Window. What the hell is the third one? What's the third X album called? Hold on. What is the third album by X? It's just going to bother me. The third album by X is, it doesn't say. What is the third album by the Los Angeles band X? This is going to drive me crazy. Right, that's the first album. What in the heck is the third album called? I'm gonna slap my forehead when I see it. It's my favorite of their albums. Under the Big Black Sun. I feel so dumb. That I didn't remember that. Under the Big Black Sun is no, More Fun is the fourth record, Vaughn. What's up, Amy? How you feeling, Amy? Hope you're on the mend. Did Lee Ving sign with Slash Records first with their Fear record before Glenn and those guys? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I truly don't know. But but I saw these vinyls and I was like, damn. And they're only like 300 a piece. They only did 300 a piece, and that's it. There's only 300 of each, and they sold out real quick, and they went back up on the secondary market. And you couldn't buy you couldn't even buy these in the US. I didn't know that. Thanks for filling me in, Lord. I didn't even know that. So you couldn't even buy these in the US. That's crazy to me, man. I mean, and then the other thing too is, like, give us a fair shot, man. Give your fans a fair shot. This is not directed at the Misfits. I'm saying in general. I could think of other bands that do this like egregiously. One band I used to work with in particular, they press their stuff up in such small quantities, and they make it very hard for people to get stuff. I just think it's wrong. It's just really wrong to me personally. Which one is this? That's 64 Tumblr. We're going to leave that up and stop that one. Okay. Whoops. Look at this. So these are more generic in my opinion. Look at these. There's like, one is Hell Orange, Hate Breeder Red, Martian Green, Skull White. There's an alternative sleeve by Erie Vaughn with the first 1,000 orders. I mean, that's fun. That's fun. 300 Devil's Purple, 320 Eyes Clear. You know, I'll take it back. What they are doing here, at least here, is at least they're giving there's 1800 here. So they're giving you a fighting chance. You might not be able to get every color, but you might be able to pick up one or two colors. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's cool. I like what Earache has done. I wish Earache got a hold of the Sam Hain collection and did the same thing. We've seen John of Doom. He did all those cool designs. I put it somewhere on the page. Doing good, Jeff. Just got out of class tonight. Awesome. That's great. What's up, Biz? Zach says, I even emailed Earache and they wouldn't. They said by contract they wouldn't ship into the US. How about that? So these were really hard to get a hold of. I didn't even remember hearing about them initially. Like they just sort of came out of nowhere. And I was like, damn. I was like, man, like I kind of want one, but so it definitely hit that itch for me a little bit. I don't know how many of Walk Among Us have been sold, but a lot. And then let's talk about the qualities of Walk Among Us. Walk Among Us has, it's like if I'm gonna introduce someone to the Misfits, I could give them collection 1. But I think I would just give them Walk Among Us. It's like, what album are you gonna pick? Here, take Walk Among Us. Why? Because it just opened. This one's 20 eyes. Well, no, I don't think they said. I think it just launches into 20 eyes. I'm thinking of Evilive. It just launches into 20 eyes, and there's just such a they're at their pop pinnacle with Walk Among Us. The songs on Walk Among Us are the pop pinnacle of the Misfits, and I just think it's the best way to show people what this band is all about. One of the ways. I mean, you have Astro Zombies on there. Yeah, I mean, listen, Static Age too, but there's just something about the choruses on Walk Among Us. Walk Among Us incorporates songs that go like Night of Living Dead that go back to the Horror Business Band. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I just feel like it's all encompassing. I feel like it's like the most accessible, easy to appreciate. Because here's the thing. I know this sounds crazy, but you do have people out there that don't like doo-wop, whoa, whatever sort of stuff, right? Like the whatever, attitude, I would think, kind of, or some kind of hate or whatever. TV Casualty, might Theme for a Jackal, Come Back. These songs are a bit more of an acquired taste. Whereas Walk Among Us, there is not a single track. There's not a single track. Well, maybe the live version of Mommy, Can I Go Out and Kill Tonight? It just slaps, man. It just slaps is what I'm trying to say. Let's dive into on. We'll go to some quick comments. Yeah. Harv says he would introduce the Devil's Rain. Dagger Love says best production too. Jeremy says Static Age was raw. Dagger argues Walk Among Us is the classic line of the band. Exactly. Very true. Zach says Nike A Go-Go, hands down. Nike A Go-Go is a song about a dude making love to a missile. Remember that. Steve Lucas says, are these as collectibles the original pressings or the 88 release? They are cool, but flooding the market, so to speak. I think they are. I think they are such interesting pieces, and they're in such rare quantity that it doesn't flood the market. And in fact, they are just as they are so rare that they are quite valuable. I don't know if they're as valuable as an original pressing, but they are. I'm sure they go for a pretty penny. Listen, I bought Death Red, 1,000 on red vinyl. I picked it up for $20, and I'm told it's worth. I was told 2 years ago it was worth $100, and now I'm told as of recent that it's worth even more than $100. I mean, that kind of appreciation is insane. I mean, Misfits records are a good investment. Well, not right now because to buy them, the bubble is really high. But I'm just saying, if you buy a Misfits record, especially in the next 20 years, I guarantee you it's not going to depreciate in value unless something like on the level of Michael Graves happens, where suddenly people are can't even get rid of Michael Graves collections. I saw one guy posted a whole collection on eBay. Nobody wanted to buy it, so it seemed. I don't know. I don't know. That's not true. People want to buy 95 Misfits stuff. I got to tell you, I got I don't know if I got to dig up her bones 7-inch. I don't know what to do with it. I mean, I guess I could just put it up on eBay. Barnacle Bill says, the first time I heard Legacy of Brutality and that doo-wop vibe, that confused me for a while. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like Walk Among Us. Look, see, Long Brain TV says doo-wop is okay. I love Walk Among Us. Yes, Amy, children, it's not, doo-wop is not the right word we're looking for. It's like this sort of 50s pop sensibility versus, I don't know. It's like Walk Among Us takes like punk rock and pop music and whoa, 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 and go, 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 and no, 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 and just sort of fuses it all together, man. We should really do a listening party. Remember how we did the Sam Hain listening party? I feel like we should do that for Walk Among Us. That's got to happen. Anyone knows why it was taken off of Spotify in the US? I'm going to guess that's because they're going to be doing a 40th anniversary reissue off the top of my head, I would imagine. And I'm sure it will be back. Introduced with Walk Among Us, but can't be. Of course you can't, Harv. I totally agree. You can't beat Static Age. If Robbie Bloodshed was here, he'd be very mad. He'd be like, no, Static Age. Static Age. Steve Zing, too. All those guys. Everybody loves the Static Age. But, if you're going to do the introduction, you got to start with Walk Among Us, I think. Maybe. Or maybe Horror Business is a good way. Astro Zombies. I've said before on the channel, I said, if I'm going to introduce someone, if I have to show them one song, Last Caress or Astro Zombies. Last Caress is a Static Age song, but still. Yes, Steve, I agree. It's like Steve Lucas says it's like buying gold. That's 100% correct, man. 100% correct. Right, like rockabilly, I guess, huh? Thomas says it's the best blend between the early classic sound and the Earth AD hardcore. Exactly. Thank you. You nailed it on the head. It's the best blend between the early classic sound and the Earth AD hardcore. It's faster, it's more aggressive, but it doesn't lose the melodic qualities the way we do when we get the brutality that is Earth AD. At the end of the day, all 54 songs, literally every single song on Misfits song, I love them all. I really do. If there are some that are less desired than others, like I think Violent World is probably the weakest Misfits song personally. I'm trying to think if there's anything more, some might say, oh, Return to the Fly. No, Return to the Fly is really quirky and fun. Violent World just feels like so, I don't know. It's just not my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea. Yes, we all need Walk Among Us in our music library. I agree, Biz. Zombified Preacher says, my introduction to the Misfits was Evilive. Love the live version of All Hell Breaks Loose. That's on right. That's on Evilive. Right. I was about to say. Biz says, I don't know if I want Earth AD Wolf's Blood. You most certainly do. Ratfink, I love Ratfink. And this is going to sound like some elitist gatekeeping nonsense, but it's true. You know, like when I meet someone else that like gets down on Ratfink, I'm like, yeah. Ratfink. Yeah. You know what it is? It's the harmonies, man. It's the fun of I don't know what you call it, a canon. Remember when you're in like chorus in like 5th grade and you learn how to do the canon? Brain Eaters is lackluster as well. I think of Brain Eaters as it's just an end cap, but I would put it towards the bottom along with Violent World, I'm getting the legacy. Longbrain says I'm getting the legacy of brutality art tattooed this summer for a first tattoo. That's cool, man. Zach says if Glenn and Jerry were really smart, they would repress all the singles and take them to Riot Fest and sell them and make them. I mean, yes, if they were. I agreed. Hate Breeders is a good intro song. I don't know if it's a good intro song, Dacker. I don't know if I agree with your sentiment. I feel like you gotta go Astro Zombies. It's just so anthemic with those woes. It's just something you want to grab someone by the shoulders and go, whoa, guys, we're already 30 minutes in. I haven't even gotten to the reading yet. You're killing me. I dig the movie theme songs that I just found recently. Yeah. Right, the Grinch, Time Warp. Those are Jerry classics. I'm excited for Jerry's solo album, by the way. Biz legit likes Brainers and Ratfink. Ratfink is often maligned and hated. I love Ratfink, man. I really, really do. Yes, I Turned Into a Martian, another great introduction song. That's a great song to introduce people. I Turned Into a Martian. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Jeremy thinks that Pumpkinhead is a beautiful jam. Pumpkinhead, that's on Famous Monsters. It's too metal, man. It's too metal-y for me. That doesn't feel like a Misfits song. It feels like a Glenn and Jerry and Doyle song to me. Yeah, I don't know. I just can't get into Violent World. But I Turned Into a Martian, man. Astro Zombies. Definitely Night of Living Dead. Definitely not. Oh, they should reissue the Coffin box set. Wouldn't that be great? In cassette form. I don't know about that. I think from what I'm told, there's going to be a pre-order soon. We did a whole show on Jerry's solo record, like a news sort of like a news break. We never cover news like that as it's happening. As a matter of fact, I might be the first person outside of Steven who showed us that information. I mean, I might be the first person to have covered that. I think. I think it's very possible. Listen, let's dive into the thing. I'm already losing my voice. Let's dive into the article. So we haven't even talked about Tim Sommer yet. Tim Sommer, who I interviewed for the Lodi project that I've been working on many years ago. One of the finest interviews I've ever had. I was recently in contact with Tim, who wrote this article, over some different business. You Patreons will know what I'm talking about on the 20th. And we'll see if anything comes of it. I don't know if it will, but Tim is a genius. He used to be a VJ for VH1 and MTV. He had a show called Noise the Show on WMFU. And he used to play hardcore music. I mean, he was the dude who was playing hardcore music on the radio. He went to NYU. He did Noise the Show out of his dorm room or something like that. And he had the Misfits on, and he also introduced the Misfits at one of their Halloween shows in the fall of '82. So he writes all sorts of incredible think pieces. And he did one for Walk Amongst. And as soon as for the anniversary, as soon as I saw that he did one for Walk Among Us, I was like, I have to read this on the air. I have to do it. It's perfect. Let me clear my throat. By the way, if you are just joining us for the first time, or if you're not subscribed, this is a great time to sub to the channel, because we are 2 away from 4,000 subscribers. That's 40% to our long-term goal. So by the end of the stream, if we could be at 4,000 or 4,001 subscribers, I'd be so happy. That would make me so happy. So if anybody wants to make my day and subscribe to the channel, if they're not subbed, please do. You could turn off all the notifications if you want, if I bother you. But let's do it, man. Let's get to 4K, huh? In the meantime, this is by the brilliant Tim Sommer, who again, you should check out everything he writes is phenomenal. I'm in awe of this man and his writing. He has such a language for music. And his interview with me, which was about an hour long, is just, he speaks in pure sound bites. He wrote this for something called Rock and Roll Globe on March 29th, 2022. Hold on one second. I love these non-action figures reaction figures, they're called reaction figures. Misfits or Martians, Walk Among Us turns 40. The debut LP from Lodi, New Jersey's Horror Punk Kings has been out of print for years. Does it deserve a resurrection? That's not true, Tim. It's not true at all. We just talked about all the repressings. This reaction figure is from Super 7, and it's just the Crimson Ghost. I think they've done a Jerry only figure. They've not done a Glenn Danzig figure. They've not done, we'll see a Jeremy. They've not done a Glenn Danzig figure. They just do Crimson Ghost, no Doyle figure either. The Misfits released their debut LP, Walk Among Us, exactly 40 years ago. But does the beginning of their myth also mark the end to the most remarkable part of their story? So it's not just celebrating Walk Among Us's 40th anniversary. Tim is asking us a question, and we're going to answer it. Maybe we won't. Between 1978 and 1981, the Misfits released some of the most memorable work in the entire punk rock canon. That is, let me tell you, that is some serious complimentary compliments from someone like Tim Sommer. I got to tell you what. I mean, that dude is a dude. That dude, Tim Sommer was the A&R guy who signed Hootie and the Blowfish to, I think, Atlantic Records. He discovered Hootie and the Blowfish, man. I know that sounds really weird, but I mean, he had a band called Hugo Largo, which is an interesting instrumentation. Two bass players and a fiddler, like a violinist. Let's continue reading. Tim says, it's possible that they were the most spectacular singles bands. It was possible that they were the most spectacular singles bands the first generation of punk rock produced. He said that in the interview. That's what I think of when I think of the Misfits. And this also comes to mind. As a live act, the Misfits were so very good that they virtually levitated. In the late 1970s and the early 1980s, the Misfits made a deliberate effort to contradict the everyman anti-rock star live aspect of punk, a pose that was largely BS anyway, and chose instead to put on a fucking rock and roll show. And they pulled it off, owning each stage they stomped on and every smoky room where they clawed at the air. And then embedded here is Tim Sommer's interview from 1981 on WNYU. So you can actually listen to Tim talk with the Misfits. It's a great chat. And here's the classic lineup of the band. You have the brothers Kayaffa, Jerry only and his brother Doyle only. You have Glenn Danzig, the vocalist, and you have Arthur Googleson, aka Arthur Googie, on drums. Here's what doesn't come to mind when I think of the Misfits. Their somewhat underwhelming debut album, Walk Among Us. So Tim is basically, on the 40th anniversary of celebrating this record, is saying that it's rather underwhelming. That's not to say that Walk Among Us is not without its significant melodic magic. It most certainly has that. And a wad of long-lasting cross-generational earworms. But after all those amazing singles and EP tracks, the startling brace of punk pop built out of an unprecedented mixture of sobbing greaser melody. Oh God. It's like reading poetry. Reading Tim Sommer writing is like reading poetry. I feel like I've done this line an injustice. I'm going to read it again. My throat is killing me. Excuse me. Let's take that again. That's not to say that Walk Among Us is not without its significant melodic magic and a wad of long-lasting cross-generational earworms. Oh, But after all those amazing singles and EP tracks, that startling brace of punk pop built out of an unprecedented mixture of sobbing greaser melodies. Think about that for a minute. Sobbing greaser melodies, comic book approach to sex and gore, frantic punk urgency. What does he mean when he says punk urgency? I mean, this is something we hear all the time when talking about that first wave of punk. It's part of the idea of DIY. It's part of the idea of just of I'm young. There's no way for me to open the door myself. I'm going to do this on my own. It's the only way I'm going to get out my stuff. This urgency. I have to do this. I have to do it now. I'm burning with passion. We have a donation, a tip from Let's Talk Live podcast. Thank you so much for your contribution and support to the channel. Let's Talk Live podcast says, Jeff, big fan. Would love to have you on my podcast sometime. Your Misfits Danzig knowledge is amazing. Best way to contact you for an interview. I would, first of all, thank you again for the support. And I would absolutely be honored to come on your show and talk about whatever you want, especially Misfits, Samhain, Danzig stuff, whatever you want to do. Let's do it. The best way to contact me for a podcast interview is to send me an email at videobusinessmedia.com. I'm going to put it in the comments here, but I'm going to space it out for bots and things. So you do Video Business Media and then at gmail.com. There you go. Shoot me an email. Put in the subject line your thing, what you want to do, and we'll do it. So there you go. That's the best way to reach out to me. My email, all forms of communication, is anybody who communicates with me will tell you I do so many things at the same time, and I suffer from the worst kind of ADHD that I promise I will get back to you. I just will get back to you in my own way. So just sit tight. We will schedule something. I would love to do it. Thank you. So there you go. Moving on. What was I saying? What was I talking? Oh, we were just talking about urgency, frantic punk urgency. A comic book approach to sex and gore. Yes. What does that mean? A comic book approach to sex and gore. It means that it's coming, and Glenn Danzig was a huge fan of comic books, as we know, and that's so true. When you look at the lyrical play, it does feel like a comic book. But my favorite couplet, if you will, I don't know what else you would call it, of Tim Sommer written poetry is sobbing greaser melodies. Oh, I could just swoon over this. What does he mean by sobbing greaser melodies? Well, we said before how the Misfits have that doo-wop 50s pop quality to them. And Tim Sommer has so much more eloquently enunciated it. And you know, what is a sobbing greaser melody? It's a whoa, whoa, whoa. Like that's whoa, woe is me. I'm sad. Sobbing greaser melodies. That's what a sobbing greaser's melody would be. That's what a sobbing greaser would sing. Whoa. It's great. It's fun. Sublime. Sublime. Long Brain TV says, can I do the same? I have a YouTube channel and love to interview you. Long Brain, I would love to come on your channel. Let's do it. Let us do it. You send me an email as well. If I don't hear from you in my email, then I'll just, you got to contact me via email. We'll set something up. Would be happy to come on anybody's show. What's the next? I'm savoring this like a steak. It's so good. And relative, so he says the sobbing greaser melodies, the comic book approach to sex and gore, frantic punk urgency, and relatively controlled productions. Okay. The rushed near let's take that slowly. The rushed nearly monophonic. What does monophonic mean? Let's look that up. Dishwasher. I'm tickled pink by this. I'm tickled pink. So monophonic means using only one channel of okay, so it's what he's saying is in mono. That's what monophonic is, the long version for mono. So it's the rushed, nearly monophonic dishwasher rattle of Walk Among Us was a bunt at best. Tim, I have to disagree. It's not a bunt, but I mean, I love, man, it's hard to disagree with your wonderful, wonderful phrasing of anything. You know what he said? It was a bunt at best, the monophonic dishwasher rattle. Oh, man. Thank you again. We have more support from another tip from Let's Talk Live. Thank you, sir. 4K or bust. Good luck. Yeah, that's right. Guys, we got to get to 4K. Let's get to 4K subscribers. I can't see my thing. Are we at 4K yet? Let's make it happen. Get in touch with me. Let's Talk Live. We'll set something up. We got to get there. Okay, cool, Long Brain. Sounds good to me, man. Sounds good to me. In some ways, and this is odd, considering how large the Misfits myth looms, and it does loom large, I don't think that the Misfits get credit for just how fucking good they were. This could be because, in my opinion, they never made a great album. Well, I mean, Tim, so many would argue against that, but I think Tim comes from a world where people made really solid, great albums. And I think that, that those are the standards that he's thinking of. Because when we think of Static Age and Walk Among Us, we think those are great albums, right? We're not worried. We're not worried. Okay. Zombified Preacher says we're at 3.99. So we're so close, you guys. We're so close to 4K. Let's make it happen. We can do this. So in Tim says, he does say it's in his opinion. He's not saying that it's a fact. He says, by his opinion, they never made a great album. Imagine, but would it have been a great album if the Misfits had walked into like a top tier studio? Would Earth AD be as masterful as Earth AD is if it was recorded in any other way? Same with Static Age. Same with Walk Among Us. These records are sort of a product of their environment, and sort of, I guess they are, it's their greatness is ingrained in what they are, is what I mean to say. Does that make sense? Their greatness is ingrained in what they are. Being what they are, part of what makes them so great is what they are, or how they were done. If it was more polished, we might just be complaining, Yeah, Jeremy's still logged in with us. That's great. Way to go, Jeremy. Unless you were in New York City in the late 1970s and the early 1980s and paying some attention to the punk rock scene, you might not understand quite what outsiders the Misfits were. First, they were playing a form of true punk rock on a scene, especially prior to 1980, largely dominated by pop and garage bands, no wave artists, and new wave acts. And although some of these artists were very good indeed, the Bongos, the Offs, and the Speedies, the Student Teachers, Klaus Nomi, the Contortions, Tina Peel, the Ray Beats, etc., were all worth seeing any damn night of the week. The kind of slashing, hollering, leaping punk rock that the Misfits played was extremely rare in a city at that time. Again, this has been the subject of an extraordinary amount of revisionism, but let's leave it at that. So what Tim is saying, based on his experience of actually being there, that the Misfits were kind of outliers, misfits themselves, of a scene that was way more diverse, that we don't think of. The punk rock that we think of with punk rock coming out of New York really does not start to blossom until 1980. Part of the birth, the very birth of hardcore music that came out of New York, bands that ushered it in, that fostered it, with bands like the Stimulators, the Mad, Kraut, the Misfits, the Bad Brains. These bands, the Undead, and so many more. The Nihilistics, I'm sure, would get put in there. I think even worse would get put there. So many bands I'm probably not mentioning, but that these bands, that's the beginning of that faster, aggressive, true punk rock sound that Tim is talking about. But what he's referring to before, in the late 70s, and he's talking about no wave and new wave and all these and pop and garage, what he's actually referring to is that's the scene that the Misfits came up in as a New York band, right? Like they came up as a New York band. And I have now spoken to two Misfits. I spoke to France Coma on the phone about this, and we asked Mr. Jim himself, and both of them confirmed that the Misfits were a New York band. And that was thirded. I forgot who said it, that Glenn Danzig, if you ask Glenn Danzig, are the Misfits are a New Jersey band, that he would tell you hands down they are a New York band. That's what he would say. Now, the thing about Glenn Danzig, as we're told by so many, is that he seems to be the type of guy who if you tell him red, he's just going to tell you blue, just to be contrarian in that kind of way. But I think what that is that's absolutely true. And that when you look at that style of punk that Tim is kind of referring to before the year 1980, you're looking at bands like The Damned. You're looking at bands like the Dead Boys. You're looking at a band like the Misfits. You're looking at a band like the Ramones. And everything else. I mean, there's so many bands that are like Patti Smith, Talking Heads, Blondie, just to name a few. And then all of the no wave artists that he's talking about, the Contortions, Tina Peel, Klaus Nomi, the Speedies. I think you'd put the Fast in there as well. Combination of power pop and no wave and new wave. All of that's mixed together. And then out of those bands I mentioned before in 1980 births this idea of hardcore. But Tim is largely saying that in general, all of this stuff has been the subject of an extraordinary amount of revisionism, probably via all the documentaries that come out. Everybody has a narrative that they want to sort of explore. There are people that will argue with you blue in the face and say the Heartbreakers, Johnny Thunders and the Heartbreakers, are not a punk band at all. They're just a down and out, dirty rock and roll band that were in that movement, that place, playing those clubs, surrounded by those people, surrounded by those other types of bands. Richard Hell and the Voidoids doesn't have that sort of traditional classic, true punk rock sound that Tim is sort of, I think, trying to mention. Even amongst the punk acts, like the Stimulators and the Blessed, we've talked about the Blessed. And if you are on Patreon, we just mentioned the Blessed as well. There were factors that made the Misfits circa 1978 to 1980 outliers. First and most memorably was the profound, deeply original sense of melody. God damn it, Tim is awesome. Virtually no other punk rock act on either side of the Atlantic was attempting to attach this kind of sobbing, arcing melody, this kind of thing. He's talking about the woe. This kind of thing we were more used to hearing on Tom Jones or Gene Pitney records to punk rock. It was an unabashed, unapologetic return to pop romanticism, uniquely applied to punk. Oh my God. Tim Sommer knows the Misfits so well. Curiously, a soon-to-come wave of post-punk bands like Echo and the Bunnymen, Teardrop Explodes, the Chameleons, and Soft Cell would soon adopt a similar post-Scott Walker romantic approach to melody. And that leads to another outlier element to a significant degree. The Misfits chased obscurity. Yes, they did. Even to this day, they chase obscurity, or at least Glenn Danzig does. Maybe not Jerry Only as much, I so desperately need seltzer, and the nearest one is super caffeinated, and I have to wake up at 5 in the morning. So, can you believe that I'm doing this right now and I have to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning to catch a flight? I haven't even packed yet. I have to go upstairs and pack. But we're going to get through this article before I do, because that's just what I do. And that leads to another outlier element. To a significant degree, the Misfits chased obscurity. Most of their releases were limited edition or on colored vinyl or available only through their Fiend Club, etc. They wanted to market themselves as exclusive. And that obviously comes from Glenn Danzig's toy and comic collecting sensibilities as a kid. And that he shared with Jerry. Jerry had these same sensibilities. That's, again, to further add to the juxtaposition that Tim is talking about. He's talking about that traditional marrying that melodic pop romanticism to the punk rock sound, along with horror movies and comic book collecting sensibilities, all wrapped up together with a fan club, which by any other standard in punk would be, once again, talking about posing, would be like, yeah, whatever, man. Reading an article like this, we talk about the Misfits all the time on this channel, but it's like reading an article just gets me so giddy when I just hear someone who speaks with such a knowledge. I mean, he knew those guys too. He knew them, They wanted to market themselves as exclusive. We also must consider that the band were banking on being famous enough one day that rarity would benefit them, and how true that turned out to be. Now, literally next sentence. Now, this turned out to be true, but it was a great gamble. I recall Jerry Only saying to me at the time, I don't understand Glenn. He would rather press up 145s and sell them for $10 each than press up 1,000 and sell for $1 each. Because Glenn is a friggin' genius. I mean, look at the bubble. Look at the market now, with these 7-inch records going for tens of thousands of dollars now. Right? The final and perhaps, one cannot stress how peculiar this was within the environment of the American punk rock and new wave scene circa 1980. That's right, because with the DIY ethic, with, trying to produce your own stuff, trying to get your stuff out there. Isn't that the whole point of making music and being in a band? You're getting your music out there to as many people as will listen. I mean, does it make sense to press up a finite amount of your record? Even the artier bands promoted inclusion and availability. The Misfits also applied this exclusivity to their live performances, whereas most scene bands would perform virtually weekly. The Misfits preferred to make their live performances rare events, and circa 79 and 80, they only played in New York City 3 or 4 times a year. Which is true. And when I've said it on the channel before, whenever I interview these old punk rock guys, they always say, and they're literally talking about from like 70, they're talking about between 79 and 82, like 3 years. They say, the Misfits, they only played once a year on Halloween. That's how people remembered the Misfits. That they rarely played. They always played out of town. They would tour, or they would attempt to tour. They would do these, they would go along the West Coast or the Midwest or whatever. But they, here's what's interesting. When that, come 1980, that's when they start playing everywhere but New York, right? They still play New York occasionally, as Tim says, but they started playing everywhere but New York. And before that, the Misfits mostly only play New York, which is why I say that they are a New York City band, and they came up in that scene. Their contemporaries were, they were a 77 punk band, in that kind of way. The final and perhaps most important outlier element to the pre-Walk Among Us Misfits was the performances themselves. Again, this was the era of inclusion in clubs throughout the New York City area. Acts were presumably providing an alternative to what you would have seen at Madison Square Garden. The Misfits were having absolutely none of that. They wanted to prove that the live rendering of punk music could equal the sort of airborne, scenery-chewing spectacle you might see at the Garden. And eventually it would, because the Misfits would play the Garden. I would love to just see Tim Sommer write a piece just about the Misfits playing the Garden alone. Certainly other punk and punk era bands took great care in presenting a certain look or image, but no one except the Misfits was attempting to say, we can do what the Tubes do, what Kiss do, what Blue Oyster Cult do. We can play punk rock and put on a show. That they were doing this generally in small venues made it even stranger. And then he says something, this is interesting to me. This is really, really interesting. Yes, thank you. Live Talk Live just says, what a name too, Live Talk Live. Yes, we just hit 4,000 subs, guys. Way to go. Thank you all. Much appreciated. We're 40% of the way to 10K. What happens at 10K? When I get to 10K, I can have my t-shirt store right below these live streams. And when that happens, I am going to just throw all into live streaming. I mean, just even though we live stream all the time, I mean, we're going to get religious about it. We're not going to miss a day. Every day there's going to be a broadcast. Every single day I want those t-shirt links up. Why? Because I got a lot of great designs coming. And I'm like I said, then I'll be ready to really try going pro. Really, really try to go pro. Maybe I won't succeed. Maybe I'll fail. But here's the thing, folks. You will never, well, you listen, it's okay to fail as long as if you try, you can find satisfaction in trying something and failing. It sucks, it hurts, but at least you know that you tried. There's nothing worse than not trying. You fail. This sounds really cliche and sort of coachy, life coachy. You fail 100% of the time when you don't try. That's the truth. So it's better to try and fail than not try at all. So keep grinding. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I will keep grinding. Thank you, Amy. And oh my God. And Rue Morgue was there at the beginning. Here he is. We're at 4K. Got to keep going, buddy. Gonna keep going. All right, let's keep reading this because we don't have a lot of time. We really don't. Oh my God, we're already a half hour over. God darn it. We shouldn't whitewash this. When the Misfits were at their creative peak in the late 1970s and the very early 1980s, they were an extremely polarizing band because of the extravagance of their live performances, because of their attachments to melody, and because of their embrace of exclusivity. A lot of people on the punk and new music scene in New York City were very vocal in their dislike for the Misfits. Now, this largely changed after 1981, possibly because the hardcore communities in DC and Los Angeles embraced the Misfits in a way that New York hardcore had not, which is kind of true when you think about it. You don't think about the Misfits when you think about other classic New York hardcore bands but Tim, I would argue with you this. A lot of those prominent New York hardcore bands don't really even get their start till 1983, 1984, 1985, right? Or like, the main ones that we think of, like bands like the Cro-Mags. The Misfits are a ghost already. Glenn's already doing Sam Hain. So I don't know. I don't know if I quite agree with that statement chronologically. But listen, Tim was there. Tim, I can't argue with the guy who was there. I can't. I gotta take a knee on that. And it certainly helped that after all those exclusive and exotic pre-album releases, the Walk Among Us album was both widely available and sonically put them in the same lower-fi league as many of the more credible hardcore heroes. which brings us back to Walk Among Us. He's circling back. God, Tim is a pro, man. Tim is a freaking pro. Thank you, Biz. Thank you very much for the congratulations. No, you and nothing can do about it. If you don't want links, don't make a channel for it then. I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you're referring to. TB. Thank you, Amy. You gotta just grind. Subscribe Among Us turns 4,000. Shalom. Did you know shalom means three things in Hebrew? It means hello, it means goodbye, and it means peace. Three things. All right, let's keep reading this. Which brings us back to Walk Among Us. Virtually everything that the Misfits had released up to that point had been a home run. I mean, out of this fucking world. And I'm delighted to say that I acknowledge this at the time in 1979 in my American Underground column in Trouser Press magazine. I was all of 17. I named Horror Business one of the 10 best 45s of the year. So Tim Sommer, who was literally there at the beginning, literally there to witness it all, he has been a constant in his message over these last 42 years ish. But after that extraordinary run of singles and EPs, Walk Among Us was a considerable letdown. Certainly the melodies were still there, as sky-reaching as always, a shotgun wedding of AM Grease Dream. I'm sorry, his writing is so good. He says, certainly the melodies were still there, as sky-reaching as always, a shotgun wedding of AM Grease dreams and football chants. But throughout Walk Among Us, the tempos were rushed. The guitar and drum parts, the tempos are rushed. They're faster. It's halfway between Static Age and Earth AD. The guitar and drum parts graceless and always pushing the hallelujah sing-along vocal melodies a little too much. Okay, I can see where, for us it's religion, man. For me, Walk Among Us is religion. We don't talk about it often enough on here, but it is. But I can understand if you got to come from Tim's point of view, seeing a singles band putting out all these singles that are very different musically, because everything changed from Bullet to Horror Business to Night of the Living Dead to Halloween, finally to Walk Among Us. He says it always pushing the hallelujah sing-along vocal melodies a little too much, and the stop-starts seemed clumsy. I was baffled. After years of being an act that prided itself on a level of professionalism and precision of presentation that isolated them from virtually every other indie act working the New York circuit, when it came time to release their first full-length album, the Misfits did two things they had never done before. They pandered and they lowballed the production. But Tim, we talk. Listen, Night of Living Dead's production is not great. As a matter of fact, it's considered to be the worst production. But that's not what makes Night of Living Dead great. It's the songs. So I don't know if I agree with you on that. Which is not to say that there isn't some true and lasting glory on Walk Among Us. Remember how we were talking before about like the difference between just saying something sucks or saying something is bad versus actual criticism? This is real criticism. Criticism should be intelligent. It should be backed up by meaningful statements, just like what Tim is doing here is meaningful, thought-provoking criticism, even if I don't agree with everything he says. Which is not to say that there isn't some true and lasting glory on Walk Among Us. The sheer ecstasy of the melodies of Hate Breeders and 20 Eyes help you overlook the harsh, obligatory churn and atypical, clumsy arrangements going on elsewhere on the LP. On the other hand, Mommy Can I Go Out and Kill Tonight is just pandering and seems to confirm our worst fears, that after half a decade of creating glory, not by giving a shit what the prevalent scene thought of them, and making magic as a result, the Misfits sought to give the kids what they wanted. Contrast anything, and I mean literally anything, on Walk Among Us with Hollywood Babylon, recorded just a year and a half earlier. Weird to think that it was a year and a half earlier. Hollywood Babylon is fierce and adamant, but also measured and patient. The melody unfolds. It doesn't sound like a fight, but everything on Walk Among Us sounds like, well, like a free-for-all. There's literally nothing here that resembles the steady, driving, intense, but open arrangement on Hollywood Babylon. Interesting that he keys on to Hollywood Babylon like that. For those of us who had absolutely fallen into the thrall of the Misfits releases up to 1981's London Dungeon, he's thinking of Three Hits from Hell. The 1982 debut album was a significant disappointment. Well, that's a cool poster. There's the rat, bat, spider. I mean, the Misfits have literally started their own genre of music. You have a band, there's a band out there called Rat, Bat, Spider because of this image that the Misfits chose to use on the cover for Walk Among Us. My somewhat negative contemporary assessment of Walk Among Us was not exceptionally popular or common at the time. By the time of its release, the Misfits had become scene darlings in near complete opposition to what they had stood as recently to where they had stood as recently as mid 1980. But I tend to think that that band have come around to agreeing. But I tend to think that the band have come around to agreeing with me. The Walk Among Us album, as a standalone piece in its original form, is not readily available on streaming services, and latter-day compilations like Static Age, Legacy of Brutality, and most especially the 1986 Misfits album, presented the world with the pre-Walk Among Us Misfits at their hyper melodic, ecstatic, contrarian, heavily melodic, hyper melodic, and heavenly melodic. He used that melodic twice, and hellishly lyrical best. In the 40 years since the release of Walk Among Us, the Misfits logo and iconography have become one of the most enduring and familiar in the history of rock music. It is possible that only the Ramones have sold more t-shirts to people who don't actually own any of the artist's records. This remarkable development testifies to the genius of Glenn Danzig and Jerry Only since 1981. But the phenomenal, absolutely unique work the Misfits released prior to Walk Among Us testifies to the genius prior to 1981. So, and then here's Tim's bio. He said, Tim Sommer is a musician, record producer, former Atlantic Records A&R representative, WNYO DJ, MTV news correspondent, VH1 VJ, and founding member of the band Hugo Largo. He has written for publications such as Trouser Press, The Observer, and The Village Voice. Follow him on Twitter at Timmy Sommer. I'm going to add his handle here. Check him out. My God, my voice is thrashed. You know what I love? I think the overall surmisation of what Tim has written here is, hey, it's the anniversary of Walk Among Us, and I'm going to be like the Misfits. I'm not going to give you what you're expecting or what you want. Instead, I'm going to celebrate the Misfits, what I loved about the Misfits on this milestone of the 40 years of what is considered to be a seminal classic album. I'm going to celebrate the stuff that I loved from the earlier Misfits. Zombie says, if the Misfits were in the movie Grease, they would be the Scorpions, but way cooler and would have won the race. I agree. Thomas says, I love the Misfits. I love the Misfits and have been a long-time fan. Do you think part of their longevity is due to the graphic design branding? Of course. Absolutely, of course. Who's the spammer? Who is spamming? Don't worry, we got gatekeepers. We got Amy is in the house. I don't know if John of Doom is still here. Rue is here. We got people that got our backs when it comes to that sort of stuff. Did you guys enjoy that? I really thoroughly enjoyed reading that. I'm going to send Tim this video just so that he knows how much we worship his writing. So when you next see me, I will be broadcasting from Colorado. We'll be got more shows coming. I'll be working on a top secret editing project, putting together something that has just been in the works for a long time, separate from the Misfits thing, separate from many things, but hopefully will come to fruition. What else can I tell you? I don't know. I just thank you for getting us to 4,000 subscribers. Thanks again to the live show for the support. Looking forward to coming on other people's shows. Thanks to Tim Sommer for writing such a great article. Thanks for the Misfits for putting out Walk Among Us, which we all enjoy. I think even Tim still can find things that he loves and enjoys about Walk Among Us. What else can I say? Don't forget to enter the contest. If you guys, we're running a contest, t-shirt contest. Check it out. riotstickers.com/win. It's free to enter. Get 20 free custom t-shirts from riotstickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. And lastly, let's bookend it how we started it. I just put 3 Patreon videos up for the Lodi files. We do this thing called the Lodi files. I do one of those a month, and they've gotten more elaborate than when we started. I did 3 of them at the same time. Those are going up. I'm going to be tackling some new interviews so I can pull out the selects, and we'll have more fresh Lodi file content coming. Keep your eyes peeled for Leaving of Fear. I interviewed him. That's going to drop on this channel eventually, first for the Patreons and the YouTube members. They'll get that first. Steve Connie, the New York Dolls, Brian Usna, director of Reanimator. Just so many people. John says, I had a friend that thought Glenn was singing Coney Island in my head. Yes, Rue, always. I will have a safe trip. I will be safe, and I will cough cool. Speaking of Patreons, do you guys know anything about the Patreon? You don't? Well, let me fill you in real quick. Let's talk a little bit about Patreon. As always, we say peace, hair grease, and sobbing greaser melodies.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jeff. So I've decided to make a Patreon. What is Patreon? I don't know how to define a Patreon. Let me look it up. Patreon is a membership platform that makes it very easy for creators to get paid for the things that they're already creating. I want to do it full time. I want this to be my full-time job. In my efforts to make that happen, I've set up this platform. Is it going to work? Is it going to be successful? I don't know, but I would rather try and crash and burn than not try at all. The goal is to create enough passive revenue so that I can continue to do this full-time, uninterrupted. Why? Because I love to do this. I love creating content. I love making videos. I love shooting films. I love doing podcasts. In case you couldn't tell, I love to talk and I never shut the fuck up. So right now I've kept the Patreon incredibly simple. There's 2 tiers, and that may change in the future. The Murdergram is a simple way to extend support for all of the hours and hours of free content on the channel for nothing more than $1. 38 cents goes to Patreon. What's $1.38, eh? It's less than a cup of coffee, but it's a great way that you can show support for very little effort. When you divide that $1.38 by the hours and hours and hours of time spent listening to this endless drivel of content, the dollar cost average works out. Next up is the YouTube Casualty for $6.66. The YouTube Casualty is loaded to the gills. Enjoy the archive ad-free, as well as ad-free early access to special docu-style podcast videos, music reaction commentaries, and the like, a month before they drop on YouTube, loaded with ads, I might add. You're also going to get exclusive content and behind-the-scenes content that is not available on YouTube or anywhere else. So you get to peek behind the veil. And believe me, there's a couple of choice pieces. Most of all, more than anything, whether you join the Patreon or not, I just want to thank each and every one of you that comes to the channel, that watches all the shows, that leaves comments, that participates. that subscribes. That's really the most important thing. This is just trying to find a way to earn a living as an artist. And with that, thank you for my TED Talk. Join the Patreon because we need you!
66 cents.